If you're working out every day, if you're growing your muscles to the moon and even beyond, and you think this is the best way to do, this video is for you. My name is Matt David, and I'm here to help you train smarter, push harder, and build real lasting strength without gimmicks and confusion. The point here, why only working out like a bodybuilder, is very important. I would say let's start with the first factor, the goals. What are your goals? Are your goals becoming a bodybuilder? Okay. Are your goals becoming healthier? Are your goals staying fit, staying healthy? Are your goals just looking fine or just losing some weight? What are your goals? That's the first question that I want to bring up, that everyone should ask himself, because this little self-talk that we are talking about now is actually more important, more significant for our personal journey than most of us even think. So if you have the goal of becoming a bodybuilder, it's totally up to you, whatever your goal is. I'm not here to talk about anyone's goals. I'm just bringing some thoughts and just my personal experience and perspective. So in that case, when you actually want to become a bodybuilder, of course you have to do certain things. I'm not here to tell you that this or that goal are not good. Everything else. I was a bodybuilder myself. I was completely into that stuff when I was younger. I was fully engaged into bodybuilding. I was having competition. I was competing in different countries back there in Europe. So I know how this struggle, how this hard way of dieting, of tremendous workloads is working on your body, and what kind of things you actually have to sacrifice if you really want to become good in what you want to become. So the sacrifices that you have to offer are definitely at hand when you want to become a bodybuilder. That's for sure. The point is, if you really want to become that, great. For me, it was when I wanted to become that. I was not asking myself a lot of questions, many questions I was not asking myself. One of them was actually why I was doing that. Why I was doing that? This question actually hit me after my last competitions. I would say more and more it came up stronger and stronger, because I realized that I was doing a lot actually for approval and validation of other people. I was seeking more other people's opinions and their validation, instead of actually thinking if what I was actually doing at that time was the exact thing that I actually want to continue in my life. And that was not the case. That's why after 4 years I decided to make a cut and say no. It was nice, it was a wonderful journey, but I have to cut it off because my future is on the line. My future was on the line in many ways, mentally, physically. Like I said, a lot of sacrifices you have to offer if you want to become good at that sport, and the things that are coming up if you continue. It's like a gamble. That was for me a gamble, and I didn't want to risk that. I didn't want to risk further things. That's why I decided better stopping, better cutting off and trying to go the other way. The way actually of focusing on my health, focusing on my well-being, focusing on my nature that was given to me, instead of trying to build something out of my body what is everything else than natural. And I just want to mention, there is no hate or anything for bodybuilding or bodybuilders. It's still very interesting for me. I still like to watch stuff like that, so I respect everyone who is doing that sport. I'm not here to judge anyone. I'm just talking about my opinion and about my perspective on the difference from actual bodybuilding, the sport bodybuilding, to the actual way of living healthy, living mindful, and living towards a more natural direction. There was also this one question that I asked myself: whether you want to be in 5 years, whether you want to be in 10, or whether you want to be in 20 years. Are you ready to gamble that, or to play that gamble, not knowing what could be in 5 years, not knowing what could be in 10 years, not knowing what could be in 20 years? I mean, we never know that, right? But I had the feeling that when I was doing that, I would just increase the likelihood of something might occur that is far beyond what I would actually want. That's why I decided to change the direction and move towards a healthier way of living. So when people tell me actually that they are going to the gym, they're working hypertrophy because they want to become stronger and healthier, That's a little misconception, but I completely get that. That's like the first place to go. Where we go to the gym, all these machines, all these exercises which are already prepared for us just to sit in and just do the movement that is actually directed. So specific movements are basically much easier for us to handle. That's why a lot of people are going to the gym and actually doing that, because these are the easiest way. And I'm not only talking about the beginners. The beginners, of course, we can understand that, but there are many people that are working out for years, going to the gym and still doing the same exercises while thinking they're making the right amount of progress, or wondering why they actually make no progress. So if you want to become healthier and fitter, it's also not about just going to the gym and making the machines, because making machines or certain movements, which is very hypertrophy based, we're basically stimulating our muscles. It's not about that our muscle won't grow necessarily. It's more about the functionality factors that we are not bringing to the table if we are actually working on machines rather than on more compound exercises. If we work on more compound exercises, our body learns more natural movements. More natural movements increase the strength in the body parts which are not necessarily worked on, especially when we sit, especially when we sleep, especially when we just sit in machines and do certain movements, because we repeat it over and over again for an extended period of time, is shortening our muscles, is tightening our muscles up. So then we wonder why we're becoming stiff after a while. And when we become stiff, we are very easy actually to get injured. This happens in young age, but it gets harder the older we get. The older we get and the more stiff we are, the likelihood of injuries increases tremendously. If you want to increase the likelihood of injuries, you know the path now. But there is also a path that works against that. And this is, like I say, more functional, more compound exercises. It's also more stretching, more mobility workouts, more core strength, a strong posture, sitting straight, being mindful about how you sleep, how you walk, how you sit, drive, whatever you do, being more aware actually of how your body is working with you or how you're working on your body. So while moving weights in a certain way is simple and makes hypertrophy basically very easy, on the other hand, the compound exercises are not as simple. They are also not always funny, and they might not bring the same fast gratification that hypertrophy training is actually bringing you. Working on hypertrophy gives you very often a good pump, especially during the workout. After a workout, you feel great because you're so pumped. Yeah, that might be true. Well, when you work out functional exercises, you might not be as pumped, but you will definitely feel well. You maybe not gain as much muscles as someone who is really focusing on hypertrophy, but you will have a much better body function than someone who is actually only focusing on hypertrophy. And there is the question, what do you want from your life? What kind of direction you want to hit? Would you like to go the bodybuilder's way? Great. Would you like to go the healthy path? The path of functionality, the path of functional movement, even when you're 50, even when you're 60. Of course, we never know when our time comes. No question about that. This one might be living longer than this one. I'm not talking about that. But what kind of goals do you actually have? Where do you see yourself? Do you see yourself looking in the mirror knowing that you have one of the best bodies in town while you cannot really close your shoes or scratch your back? Or is it important for you while having a family, enjoying playing with your kids, running around, rolling around, whatever it is, and have a good time and enjoying the other side of life that is a little bit more than just superficial? And I know now when people tell me you're so superficial, you don't know what you're talking, that's why I'm telling. I was bodybuilding too, and I have no problem to showcase a picture. You can see it. It was one of my preparations. And here is also one where I was on a contest. You can see that now. So like I said, remember what you want from life. If you want from life looking great and that's your focus, and you only want your instant gratification rather than long-term thinking, then you know your path. And if you know that you want the other path, the way that I just mentioned, you know what to do. That's why I changed my focus from real hypertrophy, from building muscles, more towards functionality, more towards calisthenics, more towards CrossFit, where I just want to be fit. I just want to be active. I want to be full of energy, not just looking good, but feeling good. Being able to move in my body in all different ways. Being able to do all kinds of sports and everything without any shortcomings, any disadvantages, because I built my body that way. Alright guys, if you liked my content, please press the ring bell and subscribe for more content. See you next time.